Awesome. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another LinkedIn Live webinar. I'm Thomas Cole, and today we have here the one and only Taylor Otto. Taylor, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what we'll be discussing today?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. My name's Taylor Otto, implementation consultant here at Discara. Excited to be back for another weekly webinar and discussing tracking jobs and tasks against a work order today.
Indeed. Thanks for the little introduction. As Taylor said, today we'll be tracking jobs and tasks against the work order. But before we get into that, Taylor, I've got an exciting or a great statistic for you to look over. I was actually doing some research and I saw that there was a report created by Deloitte that highlighted that companies that effectively use job cards in their production management processes have a 70% higher on-time delivery rate compared to those that don't. Now, I don't know about you, but 70% is a pretty high number of, having a set process of job cards in place versus having things done manually. A lot of the customers we rightly speak to today use pen and paper to do their job cards, or it's done through tribal knowledge. People go, oh yeah, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know how long it's supposed to take me to do something. So it's all up in their head. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think about 70%. That's a huge number. I think about myself as a consumer, and if I get an Amazon order that's going to show up or is scheduled to show up in a day, I want it in a day.
Yeah, definitely. I'm that guy too. Once I order it, I'm looking over to check every second to see where it's at in the delivery process. So yeah, being able to get things 70% on time is an amazing statistic for those who actually use job cards. What we're also going to be diving into would be the challenges that we hear from customers who don't have job cards. Now, the main challenge that we typically hear is visibility into what's happening on the shop floor. Now, that can actually be split into three different challenges within a big challenge, kind of like a bomb. But, the first one is the reconciliation of what has been done or what has to be done versus the actual time being spent. So, using a pen and paper method, for example, if everything is being done manually, there'll be some times where human error can actually play a part in that. So you're thinking, oh, maybe I spent 20 minutes on this job, but in actuality, it took you 25 minutes. Or for example, if you're looking at it from an operations standpoint, from a workstation or a machine, you might think, oh, this machine is or this workstation should be done with this in X, Y, and Z time, but it's maybe taking a lot longer. You want to know what's actually happening. Why is it taking longer for these certain jobs to be done? Taylor, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think about those companies that do not have a way to track their job cards or their work orders, and just identifying, having to guess how much time it's taking to perform a job or to get through a work order, and being able to audit. Not saying that it's likely, but your employees could say it takes X amount of time, and you kind of have to go and plan off of that, when in all actuality, it may take significantly more or less time. And you think about providing your inventory and providing your product to your customers at a expected time. You want to be able to see that and see, what is the history here? How long is it taking me to go through this? So kind of taking it over to Discara, taking a look at some work orders here. I'm going to take a look at a work order that we haven't started yet, and one that we have. So going into this work order here, I can see very clearly my estimated time. So how long is this going to take me to get through these different job cards? And how much time is it going to take? I can start with a guess. And what I really like about this visuality and being able to see this in software is, like I said, over time, I can see what the actual time was to complete these jobs, to give me a more accurate estimation. Love that you can see the start date and the end date, which we're going to get into a little bit more in a bit here. But just taking a look at a completed item here, it shows me when it's completed, what the actual time was to get through this entire project. 110 minutes versus 100 minutes. Now, when you're speaking in jobs and operations that are taking an hour or less, maybe this seems pretty minor, but when you think about the bigger picture and you think about jobs that are going to take days, weeks to complete, if you're off by days and weeks, that's a big a challenge to work through. So
And that's huge. And it also kind of ties into how it's going to affect your cost, right? So if you're
exactly.
not accurately taking into account how long it's going to take, then your costs are going to be off. So what does this mean? You might be sending out wrong quotes to certain customers because you're thinking, okay, because it took me this time to complete this process, this is how much it should have cost. When in actuality, you could be losing out on potential revenue because you're not timing your operations efficiently enough.
Yeah, which actually brings me to this top row here. Total cost versus estimated cost. Again, with these, lesser durations and these more, quicker operations, these
Mhm.
numbers are somewhat minor. But you think, these are jobs that take under an hour to complete, and I was off here by $100. Think about if you're off by weeks, how much extra money you are spending that you didn't account for, and how is that going to affect your business and how you plan to push products out in the future?
Could be hundreds of thousands, based on what we've just covered. As you rightly said, if it's a week's job or it's a couple of weeks, that's when you get to see what that difference looks like. Another challenge that we typically hear is identifying bottlenecks where projects are getting stuck. So, for example, if you don't have a way to see what jobs are going, then you don't know where in your production cycle things are happening. So, for example, if there are any dependencies, as we briefly touched on, right? If you need to do painting before drilling and the drill station is free, if you don't have a system that can show you what is happening at that point in time, you don't know where you're getting stuck in as an operation. And obviously that affects, your efficiency, the things that you get to tell your clients as to where their jobs are. I mean, what are your thoughts and takes on that, Taylor?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have, depending on your situation, maybe you've got, workstations that you can only do a project, a certain, operation on, and maybe, you're seeing a big pile up there where there's maybe one person that can run that machine, or there's one machine that it can be done on. How do I identify that? How do I see that? From an outside perspective, obviously if I can't be just sitting there walking through my warehouse 24/7 to understand what's going on around me, or if I'm relying on pen and paper,
Yeah.
I'm trusting that whoever's keeping track of that is able to track everything without mistakes.
Yeah.
Having an online software to just give me that visibility, and I'm going to kind of transition over here to our job cards
Mm-hmm.
and what that looks like here is what we're seeing here is I can see that I've got 73, and this is a demo system, but I can see all of these jobs that need to be done, what's open, what hasn't been started. I can see job cards that are in process,
Yeah.
what's on hold. I can see that. Why is it on hold? Are there dependencies where maybe something else has to be done before that operation gets completed? This is going to allow me to see very clearly, where are my bottlenecks? Where am I getting hung up on here? What's on hold? What's in progress? What's been in progress forever?
Yeah.
And then it also gives me, what have I completed?
Yeah.
And I can see this, and it's very easy for the user, for a warehouse employee, to simply, hey, I'm going to go into this job here and I'm going to assign myself.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you instructions for what you need to do, and I can just go ahead and get started with that.
Nice.
Another great benefit is, again, identifying bottlenecks. We talked about maybe there's one employee that can do an operation, or maybe one of my warehouse workers is just, they got a ton on their plate, and maybe I want to see if other employees have freedom to pick up a job to kind of help things move along.
Yeah.
I can take a look at job cards by operator. So I've got I can have my different workers here. I can see what they're working on currently, what's assigned to them. In this case, I see Will here he's open today. So how can I help be most efficient with my time? How can I maybe, take some off of other people's plate? If Will's got a job that is dependent on other things being done,
Yeah.
do I want him to just sit and twiddle his thumbs until those jobs get done for him? Or do I want to maybe
Move that
pass
along.
work onto him to keep this progress moving?
Yeah.
What is great about this is it allows me to not have someone just sit and wait until their part is ready, but they can help out. We can make sure we're using our time with the best efficiency,
Indeed.
getting things done that need to be done in a timely manner.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I'm not sure Will be happy that you're putting more on his plate, but definitely helps keep the process moving. And another thing I see there is also by workstation, right? So if there's any bottlenecks by any sort of workstation, what workstation is over used up, and what needs to happen in order to get it to the next one.
Yeah, exactly. And it really just depends on how this person is running their workshop. How are they running their warehouse? Do they want to see it by operator? Do they want to see it by workstation? Do they want to see it by status? But you can see all of your workstations, what's free, what's got a lot of jobs on it. This gives you a great overview in live time where I don't have to rely on pen and paper, because this is all done universally online, where if one of my employees moves a job into production, I can see that. And I think that's just a huge benefit for efficiency, for time. Brings me to another view. Maybe this view doesn't work for you. What we also have to make things simpler is just to go to a grid view, where this breaks down what my job card is, what work order is it tied to, what job was it created for, who's operating on it, is it started, is it not? And then we talked about, the financial side of things. How much is this going to cost me? I can see the operator cost. I can see the operational costs all laid out for me. So, I can have a very good understanding of what is this going to cost to create. This is going to allow me to adjust my pricing and just plan financially for what I need to put out to get my products out to my customers in a most efficiently timely manner, and also allow me to make some money.
Yes, indeed. And it also ties back to, for example, you rightly said, if someone is, let's say a jack of all trades, right? They have all the tribal knowledge. If they go on vacation, for example, where does that leave the organization? Now, if you don't have job cards, visibility into job cards, you as the business owner might not know what needs to be done to keep that process moving over and over. So that's also a great way of identifying those bottlenecks with that. Finally, we're looking at visibility into prioritization of jobs based on status. Now, I was actually speaking to a customer who started building things out for another client that wasn't due for another 6 months. Now, they had another client who had things that were due in 2 weeks' time, and they hadn't started building up on that. So that was their main challenge, in the sense that, because they had one person with the tribal knowledge, they had no visibility into their job cards, they started building things and wasting resources for jobs that were 6 months in advance. Now, Taylor, obviously you, from an implementation standpoint, you probably hear this a lot. What are your thoughts on this challenge that we hear?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, without that organization, without being able to see when was this job created, when is the due date for this job, it leaves that option to end up working on things that aren't a priority right now. Where, if this isn't due for another 6 months, I don't want to waste my resources creating that product for that, that due date, when I have orders that I need to fill today. So taking a look at just, again, our software here, it very clearly lays out when the delivery date is. When do I need to get this out by? And again, with this demo system, it looks like I've got quite a bit overdue here. So I would feel bad for this particular business here, but I love the visibility, being able to see where my priorities are at, being able to sort my work orders through when is my deliverables, when do I have to get this out by, to manage that efficiency and make sure that I'm not wasting my inventory that I need to push out for orders that are due, so I can satisfy my customers and really prioritize that.
Yeah, indeed. And, this could also be helpful for last minute orders, right? If something comes in last second, a job comes in last second, you're thinking, okay, well, this needs to be completed in a couple of days' time. This actually helps you prioritize that job, as you rightly said, over jobs that are due in 6 months.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
So, thank you all. That's been a pleasure, as always, to present to you what these things look like on the Deskera system. If you have any questions, you're interested in learning more, please feel free to reach out to myself or Taylor. Alternatively, feel free to reach out to us at sales@deskera.us. Before we hop off, Taylor, is there any last minute thing you wanted to add?
Yeah, just to echo what Thomas said, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions at all from this webinar or anything else, any questions at all about our software, anything we can help you with, please reach out to us on LinkedIn. Shoot us a message. We would love to chat with you.
Perfect. Thanks for that. All right, everyone, have a great day, and look forward to seeing you again this time next week. Take care.
Bye, everyone.